This is the Praktica Super TL. If you were growing up in the 1960s, 1970s, you wanted to get into serious photography, your options, unless you were really rich, were the Zeniths or the Prakticas. This particular Praktica dates from around about, well, they were introduced in 1968. So 1968, 1972, you'd probably end up with a camera like this. These Praktica cameras had quite crude screen lenses, 42mm mount. Lens on this not very good, so I'm going to discard that. You can see a family resemblance here with the Nova. They're almost identical cameras. The difference between this one and the Nova is that this has a meter. The battery of the meter goes in the bottom here, and this button here operates this lever here, which stops down the lens and activates the meter. In the viewfinder there's a simple up and down arrow. Align the arrow in the middle, you've got the perfect exposure, hopefully. So, a quick tour. The two sockets here are for flash. X is for an electronic flash and the F is for the older flash bulbs. Prakticas are renowned for having the shutter release on the front of the camera. Don't know if you can see it, there's a little dot on here. If you twist this dot round, it locks the shutter, which is quite useful. On the top we have the shutter speeds, which in this case run to 1/500th of a second, down to 1 second, plus B, and the X sync for this is 1/30th of a second. As this camera has a meter, there is a combined ASA DIN scale around here to set your meter to the film that you're going to put into the camera. Now, of course, you'll remember what film you put in the camera because there's this really useful do nothing dial here which you can set to remind you what camera you put in. So there you go, I've put in a black and white film now. Absolutely does nothing other than simply remind you. Film counter here. At the bottom of the camera there is simply the option for putting the battery in, and here is the rewind knob here. Also, there's another reminder here on the side of the camera to remind you how many exposures were in the film. So 12, 20 or 36. These cameras were very crude, but they got an awful lot of people interested in photography, so they must be given a lot of credit. Personally, I really liked the Prakticas back in the day. I would have loved to have one of these as one of my first cameras. I personally went down the Zenith route, but this is quite a nice thing to have. So, Praktica Super TL, 1968, from East Germany.